Happy Monday, everyone. Angie here, and I'm glad that you're able to join me tonight for some yoga. We're just going to keep it very basic. We will, as always, kind of generate a little bit of heat in the body in the practice, just enough so that we can then work on flexibility a bit and round it all off with some more relaxing, more restorative, gentle yoga as we wind down for the evening. So if you have props at home, we will be using quite a few of them tonight. I like to sit on the edge of a pillow just because it brings some relief into the lower back when we lift the hips a bit. We give ourselves more room in the lower back when we do that. So use a pillow if you'd like to at home. A yoga blanket or just a thin sort of blanket, maybe a thin throw blanket that you might have on your couch, because we will be doing some heart-opening, restorative poses with this blanket a little later on. And of course, you can always use a blanket under your knees for extra cushioning when we're doing our low lunges or anything on the hands and knees. A couple of blocks. We're going to use these for some nice shoulder opening poses. So have those. And by the way, if you don't have blocks at home, because I know not everybody does, we can do the shoulder opening pose without them. I'll show you how to modify that for those of you that don't have the blocks. And then of course a yoga strap for some more shoulder opening. We're going to be focusing on the shoulders a good bit tonight. If you don't have an official yoga strap, of course you could use a belt from a robe or something like that. That would do just fine. So now that you have what you need, again, thanks for joining and namaste. So let's begin just sitting upright. We will be here for a couple of minutes or so. So it's important to make sure that you're nice and comfortable. Use that pillow, use whatever props you need to. And if it's not comfortable for you to sit up and across the legs, you could always lie down instead. You just want to take this opportunity to get grounded, closing the eyes or sending your gaze down to tip the nose toward the ground. Feeling the lift through the sternum and then rolling the shoulders open, letting them slide down the back body, maybe turning the palms of the hands to rest them facing upright. And as the shoulders reach down the back body, notice how that brings length into your cervical spine. So you feel like you're growing taller through the neck, maybe relieving some tension there. Even though we're working on alignment, and we will be throughout our practice, we want to stay with the breath. So make sure that we're not holding the breath. Also making sure that we are doing our best to take deep, more diaphragmatic breath. So rather than the chest heaving up and down, which would indicate more shallow breath, we want to have a little bit of movement through the navel. Inhaling, the navel reaches out slightly. Exhaling, the navel draws back inward slightly. So just getting in touch with that type of breathing, and then we'll do that throughout our session, even as we get a little bit more active. We'll continue that breathing. And so that's the effort. We invite the ease in to balance it all. And the ease is just trying to let go of any tension that you might be experiencing anywhere in the body. And so that calls upon us having to go inward and be very aware of what we're feeling, how we're experiencing, being in this body. of ours. So just noticing. And then of course, if you want to set an intention for tonight's session, you can feel free to do that for yourself. And then throughout the practice, each time you notice the mind, wandering, getting busy, getting weighed down by, maybe a thought or something left over from the day, leftover business, then you can bring your awareness back to this intention or just simply back to your breath, trying to be as present as you can. So whenever you're ready, if the eyes are closed, start to blink them open. And we're going to take our time transitioning on to the hands and the knees. So if you are on a pillow, of course, just move that out of your way. Or later on, possibly. So hands and knees. We want to make sure that the knees are hip-width apart. Hands are right underneath the shoulders, heels of the hands. And then we're pressing through the fingers and the thumb pads in order to try to take some of the pressure and weight off of the wrists here. And so we're just going to press straight back into child's pose at first, letting the forehead rest on the ground. And if you need to take a little bit wider stance, with your knees, feel free to do that. And then maybe stack the hands to have a little bit of support for your head, resting that way. Breathing. Just know that this child's pose, whatever variation you're in of it right now, you can come back to throughout our session. You need to take a little physical break or mental break, and then you can just rejoin what we're doing, or what I'm doing when you're ready. So one more breath here. And then slowly start to make your way back to the hands and the knees. And you want to bring your knees back into hip width if you did take them wider. So inhaling, we're going to start to drop the navel as we reach the sits bones and the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, pull your navel in as you round through your spine, tucking your chin. Let the crown of the head direct toward the ground. And then just move back and forth through the breath. Inhale, dog tail. Exhale, cat. 3 more like that. Making sure you're not rushing. Just taking your time. 1 more. And then this time, we're going to come back into that dog tail, but curl the toes and send the hips up into downward facing dog. Let the head hang here. Maybe nodding the head yes, shaking the head no. Big breath in. And as the breath goes out, lowering the knees. Again, pressing those hips back into child's pose, reaching the arms out as far as you can this time, but then make sure that the shoulders are still able to roll open and move down the body toward the base of the spine. There's a little more of a shoulder stretch here. If that's too intense, you'd always bring the hands closer in toward your body, and maybe even bring a little bend into the elbows. So 1 more breath wherever you are. And then inhale, coming up onto your fingertips. So we're lifting the chest away from the thighs here, but the lower body is still to the best of its ability in that child's pose. And then as you exhale, start walking your hands over toward your right side, just as far over as you can reach, and then folding here. Notice I'm going to let my head rest on my left arm. Some of you might be able to put your head comfortably on the ground, so just see which option works best for you. Relax the shoulders, relax the hips as much as you can, and then lift the head up, lift it back up onto the fingertips, walk center, and then over to your left side, just as far to the left as you can reach, while keeping this right hip reaching, back toward that right heel, and fold. The head could rest on the right arm, or maybe on the ground. It's a nice opening stretch. Every inhalation through the right side of your body. Every exhalation just softening into the pose. One more breath. And then lifting the head, coming back to the fingertips, walking back center, and onto the hands and knees again. So here's where we're going to use our blocks. Grab your 2 blocks. And we are going to be on our knees for a bit. So you could have your blanket underneath you if that needs to happen for a little extra cushion, like I was talking about at the beginning. If you don't have blocks, you would just position down onto your forearms and elbows like this. And then from there, walk the elbows away from you. Notice how I'm still reaching my hips into a dog tilt, but my hips are not forward. My hips are still over my knees. Okay? And then from there, bringing the palms together, pressing the palms in, and then let the forehead rest on the ground in between the elbows. So that's without your blocks. And then you just work on the flexibility by, over time, reaching the elbows forward, still pulling the hips back just enough to keep them centered over your knees. Now, if you have blocks, it's going to bring just a bit of a deeper stretch into this pose, because as you can see, you'll have further down to go. The head will have further down to go below the elbow level. So get your distancing where you can still keep those hips above the knees. Squeeze the palms together. Notice my elbows are on the blocks here. And then I'm just going to rest the forehead. And I have really tall blocks, that makes it a little more challenging. This would typically be practiced with your standard size yoga blocks. Just breathing here. And a nice stretch to the backs of the shoulders through the armpits. So sort of stimulating to that lymphatic system, which helps to improve your immune system, which we all need to be working on, especially nowadays. When you're ready to come out, just start pressing through the elbows as you lift the head at the same time. Coming up onto the hands. If you have blocks, keep the blocks underneath your hands. Curl your toes under and send the hips up into downward facing dog with the blocks. You can kind of use the heels of the hands near the edges, the front edges of the blocks. And make sure they're on the yoga mat, not on the ground. You don't want to slide. One more breath. Walk the feet in toward the hands here. And then inhale up partway, flat back, lifting up onto the fingertips, maybe on the blocks. If you need to come up a little higher, you could use the hands and the shins. Exhale into your fold. Notice my knees are bent here. I have bend in the knees. I'm just releasing through the back body. Breathing deeply.
creating space through the neck, through that cervical spine. Knees are slightly bent.
And then coming back up onto the fingertips, we're just going to do a little bit with our core strengthening. So up on the fingertips, like the hands are little sort of teepees. And then we're going to take a big breath in. And as the breath flows out, so you can keep the right leg straight, but touch the back of your right wrist, okay? Exhale again. Toes touch the backs of the wrist, the back of that wrist. 3 more times. Good. 5 times on that left side. So inhale, do the first 2 kind of slow. As you exhale, touch the back of the wrist. Inhale, drop it. Exhale, touch. And then 3 times in succession. Good. And then move your blocks off to the side, coming up part way, flat back, either up onto the fingertips or the hands are here on the shins. Either way, we're pulling the navel in, activating through the core, and then we exhale into the fold. So at this point, the knees, might not be quite as bent. And then bend your knees deeply. On the next inhalation, tuck the chin, roll your way up to standing, coming all the way up. I'm going to move the camera for our standing poses, so bear with me here. Okay, and so just coming to the top of your mat. Sorry, loud sound on the chair. I'm not used to filming in this room quite yet, so getting my bearings. So we'll come to the top of our mats here, hands at the heart. And, depending on what's comfortable for you, some folks like to stand in a closed mountain with their feet together, inner edges of the feet touching. Whereas other folks need a little bit of space. So just see what works, again, best for you. And really rooting down through all 4 corners of each foot. Breathing. Bring the palms of the hands to rest at your chest. Get this straight. And then maybe bring the intention that you set back to mind. And so we take our time with these transitions. And we'll do some half salutes to begin with. So inhale, reaching out and exhale, folding, relax. Inhale up partway, flatten your back here. Either hands on the shins or on the fingertips to the ground. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out wide, coming up. Exhale, hands can rest at the chest. Again, inhale, reaching out and up. Exhale, fold. Inhale up partway, flatten your back. And then exhale. Into the fold. Inhale, reach the arms out wide, coming up. Exhale, hands gonna rest at the chest. One more half salute. Inhale, reach. Exhale, folding. Inhale, partway, flat back. Navel draws in. Exhale. Into your fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out wide, coming up. Exhale. Hands gonna rest at the chest. We'll come up to the top of the mat. And make sure you have room to step back behind you. Full salutes. Inhale, reaching out and up. Looking up as the palms touch. And as you exhale, drawing the hands down the midline to the ground. Slight bend to the knees in this forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, partway flatten your back. Exhale and fold. Hands to the mat, stepping back into plank, shifting forward, lowering the knees, hugging the elbows in, lowering all the way down to the belly, forehead. Rest on the ground briefly. Inhale, and come on to the forearms and the elbows here for Sphinx pose. And so one of the tendencies we have here is to, constrict through the neck by trying to look straight ahead of us. So instead, think about keeping the neck nice and long, tucking the chin slightly. So instead of looking straight ahead of you, you're sort of looking downward, almost like you're looking out over a cliff. Now at the same time, you're pressing up through the forearms, through the elbows, and then reaching your chest forward as you reach back at the same time, through the legs to the toes. And then slowly lowering back down, bring the hands at chest level. Inhale, hands and knees, curl your toes. Exhale, downward facing dog here. So just breathing, downward facing dog. If you needed to modify, you could do that by lowering your knees. I'm just making sure my shirt doesn't come up over my head. Breathing, one more breath. Slowly hopping, taking flight. Or you could step one foot and then the other, maybe take a few baby steps. Get to the top of the mat the best way you know how, coming up partway, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your arms out wide, coming up. Exhale, hands rest at the chest. So we're going to come into some low lunges here. If you need your blanket under your knees, then now would be the time to go ahead and grab that and kind of put it behind you or just have it handy. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, folding. Inhale, partway. Exhale and fold. Hands to the mat, step the right foot back, high lunge, but then lower the right knee to the ground. And then when you're ready, come upright. Inhale, reach the arms up into an upward salute. Shoulders relax in the sockets here. Knee, that left knee is staying over the ankle. It's not moving beyond your toe line. So we're keeping that knee nice and safe. Big breath. Exhale, right hand under the shoulder on the ground or on a block. As we twist towards this left side, left arm reaches up. Maybe even looking beyond the fingers of that lifted left hand. Curl the toes, the right foot underneath you, and lift the back knee if that's an option. If it's not, then just stay low on your knee. Wherever you are, take one more breath. As the breath flows out, turn the head, look at your right hand, and then bring that left hand to the instep of the left foot. Notice how I have to kind of scoot my left foot over to do this. Now here again, you can stay a little higher with the back knee lifted, or you could have your back knee on the ground. Now stay on the hands, or if you're a little more open, through the hips, you could come down onto the forearms, the elbows, or on blocks here. You could have the blocks under the forearms. If those are available. Wherever you are, take one more breath. Sleeping lizard. We're going to lower that right knee down if it's not already. Press up onto the hands if you were lower. And then ease out of the lunge by allowing the hips to kind of move back. We're going to put that left hand on the other side of the left foot. So now we're back into a lunge, but from here, we're going to draw the hips back and bring that left leg toward extension, sort of this half pyramid, and getting into that left hamstring. We're going to do 3 pulses here. Inhale, forward into your lunge, low lunge in Janiyasana. Exhale, drawing back in that half pyramid. And at no point do we want to lock that left knee. Keep a little micro bend there. Inhale forward. Exhale back into your fold. One more time. Inhale, coming forward. Lifting the chest, reaching it out. Exhale. Coming back. Hanging out here for a few breaths. So here again, if that right knee feels tender, you could have a blanket under it. Let's take one more breath. And then dragging that foot back. Just going to push the reset button for a moment by pressing back into your child's pose here. Okay, we're back. Sorry, had a little technical difficulty with the internet connection. So we're on our other leg. So now we have the right foot forward. Left knee is on the ground. And we're in our lunge. Now, if it felt okay, we could bring the chest upright and bring the arms upright and do an upward salute. Janiyasana. Now notice I have the toes of my left foot curled underneath me, behind me. But you could have the top of your foot resting on the ground. It's just what feels best to your body. Big breath in as the breath flows out. Left hand comes down to the mat or to the block, and we twist toward this right side. Stay here or lift the back knee. And just make sure that you're not holding the breath. You're letting that breath flow. Take a big breath in. And as the breath flows out, bring the right hand to the instep of the right foot. Scoot that right foot over. And then here we are in our sleeping lizard pose. We can stay up on the hands, or we may be able to come down to the forearms, squeezing that right leg in toward the right shoulder, rather than allowing the foot to roll onto the outer edge here. Keep pressing through the inner edge of that right foot. It wants to lift completely off of the ground, especially when you come down low. One more breath. Into the right hip, breathing into that right hip, lifting up onto the hands if you were low, lowering that back knee if it was lifted, and then bringing the right hand to the outer part of the right foot. Line that right foot back up to where you're in your low lunge. Inhale, lifting the chest, looking forward. Exhale, drawing the hips back as we bring that right leg toward extension. We're going to do that a few more times. Inhale, coming forward. Exhale back. And then a couple more times. Inhale forward into that right hamstring. And exhale back. And one more time, coming forward. I don't know about you, but my right side is tighter than my left side. We all have a side that's going to be tighter. Exhale back. And just do the best you can in this fold. Keep extension to the spine, trying not to round through your back. One more breath. And then sliding the foot back. Coming back to the hands and the knees. Lifting up into plank, shifting forward, either lowering the knees or chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing deeply, pulling the navel in, and then lowering your knees, pressing your hips back into child's pose. We're not doing a lot with our standing poses. Again, just enough to generate some heat in the body. So staying in your child's pose for several more breaths. I'm going to adjust camera again. Move a little bit closer for our floor work. So feel your breath while you're in child's pose, really moving into the back body, creating space there, broadening through the sacrum. One more breath. And then slowly making your way back up to the hands and the knees. We're going to come into our thread the needle twist here. So we'll start threading that right arm underneath the left, bringing the right shoulder down toward the ground. And again, we'll be on our knees, so if you want your blanket, then you can have that to help cushion under the knees. Now, if you wanted to, you could extend that left leg and maybe even lift it upright, pulling the navel in. You might lift the left arm as well if you're feeling extra balance. But just do what's available to you. Maybe the hand and the foot and the knee are all on the ground. One more breath wherever you are. And then press through that left hand to bring you back upright. Do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to turn away from you. You'll get to see kind of what the back body is up to in this twist. So thread that left arm underneath the right. Twisting toward the right side, pulling the navel in. Maybe extending the right leg, lifting it if that's available. And of course, we could keep the right hand on the ground, or we could lift that arm. Wherever you are, take one more breath. And if anything is lifted, try to lower it down with control, pressing through the right hand, coming back upright. And then we're going to come into a sitting position. So you could have your pillow if you'd like. Grab your strap though. Have it handy. Set up. I need a cameraman. Camera woman. So again, if you want to sit on your pillow, do that. That can feel really nice. And then just come into a cross-legged positioning. Have your strap handy. See if I can get my arms as well. Let's see what we're doing. Yes, that's better. All right. So grab your strap. Take your hands to the very ends of the strap and then wrap it around the hands. And you want to have a wide, a nice long piece of strap so the arms, the hands are pretty wide away from one another. Inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, either come halfway back or all the way, if you can do so without it hurting, or without having to hold the breath. Yeah, let's do that 4 more times. Up and opening back. If you can do this in front of a mirror, it can be really helpful because you can make sure that you don't have one shoulder higher than the other. That's 3. Let's do 1 more after this. Coming back up and lowering down, and then just relax through the shoulders. Reach the right hand out to your side, and if it feels like it's too far down, you could always have a hand on a block here, but reach as far out to the right while keeping the left hip grounded, fingertips of that right hand on the crown. sitting upright, tuck your chin toward your chest. Keep that torso nice and upright, not leaning out toward the right side. And then inhale again and roll your head toward your left side. A nice lengthening stretch through the right side of the neck, down into the shoulder. And then roll your chin back to center. Inhale, lift your head. And exhale, resting here. Inhale, reaching up and over. Keep the left hip grounded. So reach that right arm out. Nice lengthening stretch the left side of the body. And then inhale back to center. Change the crossing of your legs. I'm just going to repeat that same thing. Other side. So when you're ready, we'll do those 4 kind of shoulder passes again. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, back. Inhale, back up. And lower. And notice maybe this time you feel a little more open. Maybe you can bring the hands a little closer toward one another, maybe not. We really don't want to do anything to push here. So we have that nice little balance between effort and ease, where we're getting a nice stretch, we're having to do a little bit of work to express it, but it feels good. There is some ease to it as well. Good. The strap down. Take your left hand out to the side, fingertips out to the side, but keep your torso upright. Try not to let it lean to the side. On your next exhalation, tuck your chin toward your chest. And then inhale, roll your head slowly to the right side. I'm just winding everything down so that we can have a nice restful evening, have a good night's rest, recharge for the rest of the week. So rolling the chin back toward your chest. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, reach that right arm up and over as the left hand creeps away from the body. And then slowly coming back upright. Staying on your pillow or just sitting on the ground, bring the feet together, round angle, Baddha Konasana. And at first we're just working on keeping the torso upright rather than, allowing the shoulders to round and the back to round. And this is quite an exaggeration, but I want to keep that lift for the sternum instead. Now, if that requires you to modify a little bit by pushing the heels away from you, more of a star pose, Shavasana, rather than bound ankle, that's fine too. Wherever you are, we're going to come into a forward fold. So sitting up nice and tall, inhale. And as we exhale, keep the chest kind of broad, lead with the chest as we come forward. So we're actually, if the feet are close in a bound angle, then we're actually bringing the chest toward the feet. If you're in closer to star pose, where the feet are further away from you, then we lead with the chest, but we're bringing the head toward the feet. And toward is the word. Just do the best you can with what you have in this very moment. 2 more breaths. And then slowly picking your way back upright. I'm going to come off of my pillow now. I'm going to come into a seated twist here before we come down to the ground. So in a reclined position. So crossing that right foot over the left knee, Sitting up nice and tall. Try to level the hips as much as you can. And then we're going to start twisting toward this right side. So when you're ready, roll the right shoulder open, place the right hand back behind you on the ground or on the block, and then start twisting. So you can keep hold of the right knee with the left hand, or kind of bring that elbow to hold on to the knee, and let that help you ease into your twist. So we get a nice spinal twist here, which is good for the mobility of the spine. We're also getting this incredible stretch through the outer right hip, moving down into the glutes of that right side. If you wanted to go a little deeper here, you'd bring your left arm to sort of the outer edge of that right thigh. And let that take you a little deeper. Now in twist, of course, like any pose, we don't want any pain, but twists too, one of the biggest indicators that we move beyond where we need to be. Like I'm able to talk to you because I can breathe here. But if you can't breathe, or if you couldn't talk in your twist, then you've moved beyond your edge. And so that's a good way to keep up with, okay, am I really where I need to be right now? And then slowly start to make your way out of the pose. We're going to change the crossing of the legs. So now that right foot crosses over the bent, or left foot crosses over the bent right knee. Let me get it straight here. Sitting up nice and tall. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of hugging the knee, that left knee and left thigh, in toward my abdomen. At the same time, I'm lifting my chest up toward the thigh to meet it. And so notice how that keeps me upright rather than slumping, which I know is exaggerated, but when you're ready, roll the left shoulder open, left hand back behind you. You can either hold on to that left knee with the right hand, or maybe hook the elbow and go a little bit deeper. When we twist, we visualize with every inhalation that we're extending through the spine. And with every exhalation, we visualize going a little bit more deeply into the twist. And sometimes movement accompanies these visualizations. Again, if you want to go deeper, take that right arm, outer edge of the left thigh. Two more breaths, wherever you are. And then slowly start to unravel your way out of the twist. So we are going to use this blanket for a little restorative heart opener. So what we'll do here is just take the blanket and, to the best of your ability, fold it kind of like this size. And then from there, we'll take, and if you are using a yoga blanket, have the fringe side away from you. But we're just going to take and roll the blanket. Now, depending on how open you are through your chest, for most of us, we're going to stop at about halfway through the blanket with a roll. It could be a little smaller, though, if you know you're pretty tight to the chest and the shoulders. So again, just see what works best for you. And then it's a matter of putting this roll right underneath the very kind of bottom of your shoulder blades, so that most of the shoulders, hangs off the top of that blanket roll. And so you can see this really broadens the chest. Now, if it felt like it was too much to handle for the neck, then just, bring a pillow under the head and rest that way. Now you might get down there and feel like, oh, I can adjust. I'm gonna make mine bigger. bigger since I am going to use the pillow because it's easier for me to talk. Great. So let your arms maybe rest at your sides like the saguaro cactus. Breathing. Now I have my knees bent. You could always extend the legs and let them rest if you wanted to, but I just feel like for my body and what I need a little extra lower back support. So just breathing here. Just like our twist, if it's difficult to breathe, if there's any pain with the breath, then we will just very carefully come out of this restorative pose. Make the blanket roll smaller. Make those adjustments and come back. Let's take about 7 more breaths here. Last 3 breaths, just allowing yourself to rest on the blanket, resisting the tendency to kind of stay lifted up and off of the blanket, but surrendering on to it. 1 more breath. And then from here, we're going to roll onto the side of the body just long enough to take the blanket out from underneath the shoulders. I'm going to actually use my blanket roll under the knees so that I can have some, again, lower back support. And then I'm going to keep my arms open. Just feels good on my shoulders. And just find that comfortable resting position for Shavasana. We're just going to hang out for a couple of minutes longer, but without the blanket roll under the chest. And just notice how even though it's gone, you might still feel a slight lift through your chest. And so just staying where you are for a few more moments. I'm going to sit upright so that it's easier for me to talk. So just feel your body resting on the ground, broadening through the sacrum, relaxing all the muscles through that bony area of your lower back, relaxing through the shoulders, feel them resting comfortably underneath you, weight evenly distributed. The head is heavy, so the back of the skull is able to easily rest on the mat, on the ground. Every inhalation, just visualizing getting longer through your spine, creating space in the body. Every exhalation, softening. Letting go of any leftover tension, whether that's physical or mental, to the best of your ability. Even if it's just an invitation to let go, even if that's as far as you get, keep inviting it. And so before we wrap it up, we'll just come into a few rounds of 3, 4, 5 breath. This is one of my favorite breathing exercises because it's very easy to remember. We can do it on our yoga mats, we can do it sitting in our vehicles, we can do it sitting in our offices, getting ready to maybe confront a difficult person or a challenging meeting or whatever might be coming up for us, where we need a little bit of mental preparedness to calm down and be more likely to respond rather than to react. So 3, 4, 5 breath, we inhale for a count of 3, we hold the breath for a count of 4, we exhale for a count of 5, and I will count us through. We'll just do 3 rounds together as a way to sort of end our practice. So take a normal breath in to begin, and then let it go, and then inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold the breath, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale for 1, 2, 3, hold the breath, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last round, inhale, 1, 2, 3, hold, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your breath come back to a rhythm that feels good to you. That feels soft, relaxed. And then start inviting movement back into the body from there. Take your time. This is the last transition that we're going to make. So no need to rush. Just making our way from lying down onto the side of the body and then sitting back upright. When you do come back upright, just like we did at the beginning, take your time. Maybe come into the non-dominant crossing with the legs, and then take your time coming into alignment, rooting down to the sits bones, finding that foundation in this pose, Sukhasana, easy sitting pose. Shoulders are rolled open, sternum is lifted, head is floating on top of the neck, nice and neutral, pelvic bowl is neutral. And then slowly bring your palms together at the heart center. Take this opportunity to check in with yourself one last time. How do you feel? How do you feel in your body? How do you feel mentally? How does it feel to take this seat now compared with when we first sat down? So thank you guys for joining. I hope you have a restful evening. We'll be back next Monday, New Wellness and Library page, 6:30. So join us then. Namaste. Bye. Have a good week.